What is going on, ladies and gents? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, and I'm going to do a little different type of video today. This is going to be more of like a mindset slash lifestyle video. We've done a bunch of training videos lately, a bunch of travel vlog videos lately, but I've had something on my mind, and this is not a new topic. I mean, all of y'all will have heard these concepts before, probably applied these own concepts in your own life, but I just thought of a really good way to illustrate it. And for me, having it like graphed out on a board makes a world of difference. So basically what I'm going to teach you today, or illustrate to you today, is the graph of how to win in life. Okay, how to win in life. So you've got, let's just put a hypothetical graph here. You have intensity. Let me write this out. Intensity, or work. I guess you could put work. And you have time. Okay? And I feel like there's three different ways to go about applying intensity in your life through time. And I'm just going to go through those three right now. So you've got kind of like the, just steady state, not really going anywhere, not really setting goals that are, push goals, stretch goals, but just kind of like humdrumming through life. This is like the stereotypical person who is unhappy with where they're at in life. They're unfulfilled. They want something different. They want something better for themselves, better for their family. But rather than doing anything about it, they get off of work from a job that they don't like, and they sit on the couch, drink a beer, and watch Netflix for 4 hours, and then complain about why they're not making any moves. So you don't want to do this. And in all honesty, I don't feel like you can really be stagnant in life. You're either winning or you're losing. You're either making progress and moving forward, or you're moving backwards, because you're not getting any younger. So in reality, this may look like a flat line, like stagnation, but I would actually consider it more of a downhill slope. So that's definitely not good. The other is kind of like a one-hit wonder, so to speak. So you have like this crazy intense moment in your life, and this is a defining moment. But what happens is you have such an expenditure of energy, effort, and just intensity that you can't sustain that indefinitely. You can't sustain that over the course of your lifetime. So oftentimes what happens is you have this great moment, this highlight moment, and then you drop down, and you drop down hard. You fall into a depression, and that's not good. So there's times in life where, like, I've had two of these moments in my life personally. The first was when I had my first competition. Didn't know what I was doing, and I did everything wrong. And my mindset towards that competition was a very unhealthy mindset. Like, I let that prep and that moment define who I was. So I was very calorically depleted. I was like 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, which is not enough. I was training 6 hours a day because I literally did not know how to get the most bang for my buck. I didn't have a coach, and I was just clueless. I didn't have any perspective. I'd never done it before. So I literally would be in the gym crying because I was so miserable. And I won that competition, but that was a highlight moment. It was kind of like a one-hit wonder moment in that sense. Like, I felt really great, but it was very unhealthy. And then I fell into a deep depression. Like, I really went down the deep end with like obsessive compulsive disorders, and it was pretty dark. It was not a good place in my life. And this was in, I think, 2012, just to kind of give you a time frame. And then I had another one of these defining moments from a business perspective when I was in Washington State, and I quit my job at the railroad. I'm just giving you these like life examples because y'all can probably relate with these in some form or fashion. But the second was when I was in Washington State, quit my job managing at the railroad as a train master, and didn't really know what my next thing was. I was trying to play around with real estate, and I wasn't making much progress there. I started kind of being in a relationship with Crystal, but I'd never been in a relationship before, so I was totally blind there as well, and I was doing everything wrong with her. And I was broke. Like, I was literally working 4 deadbeat jobs. I was like, front desk at a Gold's Gym that turned into a YMCA. That wasn't good. I was, doing yard work. I was just doing a bunch of, jobs that weren't really paying the bills. I had the mortgage on my house that I purchased when I was with the railroad, so I had, a lot of expenditures, but not a lot of money coming in. At one point, counting the mortgage and student loans, I was in $250,000 worth of debt, and I had like $35,000 worth of that was credit card debt. So I was depressed. I was literally suicidal. I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I'd let my family down, and I felt like life was not going to be looking up for me. So my other defining moment was I had to get out of that. So I had another, moment. I'll just do another peak, so to speak. And that was when I started really building the business. So I literally was working 4 jobs apart from building the business, and I would get home late and I would just stay up late. I was probably averaging 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, and I was working on building what is now Keto Savage, and I was able to do it successfully. Like, it grew, it took off, but it was like so many hours of creating YouTube content that nobody was watching because I didn't have a subscriber base at the time. Like, I had to learn how to edit these videos. I was trying to podcast for the first time, and it was just like this massive outpouring of energy and effort for something that I didn't even know if it was going to take off or not. But the work that I was putting in at that point wasn't sustainable either. Like, you can't sustain only 3 or 4 hours of sleep every single night and expect to live a long, happy, healthy life. So that was my other defining moments, but both of which are defining moments. Those both kind of shaped who I am now with my background with the bodybuilding and with the business, but neither of those moments, like the effort that went into those moments, are sustainable. So this whole, one-hit wonder, so to speak, is not really a good life, game plan either. What I would recommend, what I've tried to embrace fully now, and what I would advocate for anybody, is to basically have a series of peaks and valleys. And what's interesting about this is, this peak here is not near as high as either one of these peaks. But this peak here is significantly higher than both of these peaks. And there's times when you have like these defining moments and you don't necessarily just fall into a long-term depression and just drop off the deep end indefinitely. Like, I definitely got depressed in both of these instances, but I had people relying on me, so I couldn't commit suicide, and that was a thought. So I couldn't do that, and I couldn't just drop off the face of the earth because I didn't want to fail Crystal, who I was trying to form a relationship with. I didn't want to fail my family, and I didn't want to fail myself. I had to prove to myself that I could win at this thing called life. So I didn't fall off and do any of those bad things. But I've learned to adopt this style of philosophy towards living. And what's interesting is these moments, these peaks, like if that's the first time you've ever done those things, you don't have any frame of reference. You have no perspective to know, on a difficulty scale, how hard that really is. Like, my first competition, there's nothing that I've ever done that was like that before. So that was hands down the hardest thing I've ever done, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. Same is true with when I did my when I started building the business. I'd never done that kind of work before. So it was a very trying time, but it gave me so much perspective on what, true difficulty is, what true work ethic is, what true hustle is. And I've taken those perspectives forward into these, peaks and valleys that I'm constantly trending upwards in. So what I used to think was, damn near impossible in the past, now it's just another day, another walk in the park, just another part of the day. So having that increased perspective allows you to constantly push the needle one step further without burning out, because what you once thought was hard is no longer this insurmountable obstacle in front of you. So going forward, you have moments like, for instance, just to bring it back to real life situations, like a competition prep for me now, knowing what I know, is more similar to one of these peaks than this crazy, spike. So a competition prep now is one of these peaks. And then I'll have a period where I'm kind of like more relaxed, more at peace with the progress I made, more reflective. I take these these valleys, these lulls, to just be more reflective and learn from the peak that I just accomplished. So a current contest prep would be a peak. A really successful keto brick launch would be a peak. Launching a new business even would be a new peak. Like launching my first business was a crazy spike that I had no perspective on, whereas now I literally just opened up a new LLC account, limited liability company, yesterday. So that's not something that becomes insurmountable like it once was. But basically, if you adopt this style of philosophy, take time to reflect, take time to be appreciative of what's happened, and then learn how you can grow from that. That's just going to embrace these times. Like during hunting season, for instance, that's a lull. I'm not going to be able to hit every single training session because I'm going to be out in the woods, but I'm very reflective and think deeply when I'm out in the woods. But then when I do a contest prep, that'll be another peak. But having this constant upward trend is the main thing. If you do this, that compounds over time, and you win at life. So again, these are all concepts that you've probably heard before, you probably or should be living now, but to have it graphed out like this made a lot of sense to me. You can't constantly be going upward. You're going to have periods where you're just not making as much progress, but as long as the constant trend is moving upward, you're going to win. And this holds true with like your weight loss, or your muscle gain, or your relationships, or your career path. Like this concept holds true in every life situation. So hopefully this kind of made it more visually appealing and illustrative and just better to understand. So that's my rant on how to win at life. See you next time.